Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rasha from Peridot Makeup. Today I wanted to discuss how you pick your foundation. Picking a foundation is not just as simply as picking your right shade, because you also have to take into consideration your skin type and the amount of coverage that you would like, so light, medium or heavy. I often see people and makeup artists alike on social media mainly wearing the wrong shade of foundation. One may argue that they're using a darker shade because of the lighting and so it shows better on social media. That's true, however, there is a difference between using a darker shade and using a darker shade with the right undertone. An undertone means basically what color was used to create the shade. And that gets divided mainly into two sections. One is warm and the other one is cool tones. Understanding the undertone of the foundation also goes hand in hand with understanding the undertone of your skin. So if you don't have an understanding of the undertone of your own skin, then you may not pick the right shade of foundation. There's many theories as to how you can pick your undertone, how you can figure out what your undertone is. One of them is looking at your veins and seeing if the veins on the back of your hand or on your wrist appear more blue or more green. So generally if they appear more blue, you have a cool undertone. And if they appear more green, then you have a warm undertone. And sometimes your veins look neither here nor there. They might even look purple. In that case, you're probably neutral. Another way of finding out whether you're warm or cool is to pick a warm shade and hold it against you, and another shade, which is a cool shade, hold it on the other side, and then see which color complements you more, which color brings out the colors in you, and which one makes you look more pale. For example, hold a piece of paper or fabric that's blue on this side and then hold a warm color, let's say red, on the other side and see which complements your skin more. It's important to understand whether you have dry skin, normal skin or oily skin or combination skin, because not only will it affect the foundation that you buy, but it'll also impact the type of primer that you will have to pick. Using the wrong type of primer with the wrong type of foundation can have really negative effects. It can make your foundation look either cakey or it might not even want the foundation to adhere to the primer. So it's important to make sure that these two go well together. Now there are primers that are designed for oily skin. They're usually marked oil-free primer. And then there's moisturizing primers, and then there's silicone-based primers. Now moisturizing primers are naturally for those who have dry skin or mature skin. The silicone-based primers can really go either way, depends on the amount of moisture that they put in. But they are great for filling in gaps in your skin. If you have wrinkles, it kind of carries a barrier over the skin, so the foundation doesn't really sink into the wrinkles as much. Of course, it will always sink because it's just makeup at the end of the day, but it can minimize it a little bit. And the same goes for foundations. So there's oil-free foundations, ideal for those with oily skin. There's moisturizing foundations, which are usually in a cream tone, and then there's the wax-based foundations. The moisturizing foundations usually give you a dewy finish, whereas the oil-free foundations will give you a matte finish. Just beware with the moisturizing foundations. Sometimes they can be a bit too oily, so you will have to pat them dry a little bit before you powder. And then those with normal skin can pick whichever foundation they want to go for, whether they want an oil-free matte foundation or whether they want to go for a moisturizing foundation. Now that you understand the skin types and the types of foundation there are, now is the time to pick what consistency makeup you want to buy. So there's creamy foundations, there's stick foundations, and then there's the underrated pressed powder. They all come in various degrees of coverage. It's entirely up to you which one you prefer to use. However, I can advise you that the liquid foundations are easiest to work with. The stick foundations are usually wax-based. What a wax-based foundation likes is to be warmed up at the back of your hands, because they can be really dry and really hard to work with. So they need to be warmed up at the back of your hands before you apply it on the face. I've seen many makeup artists online applying it directly onto the face, and you can see how much they're pulling and also the amount of foundation that they're putting on, right? So that's totally unnecessary. That's going to make your makeup look really cakey. Generally, if the foundation is full coverage like this one, you can see how much it covered my veins. You can apply it with a brush. It works really well with a brush. What you do is you take it off the back of your hand where you warmed it up, and then you buff it in, okay, with very gentle motions, okay? You don't need to press and push your skin down at all, as I often see. Now I see them apply foundation in a downwards motion like that when they use a brush, because they reckon that they're going to keep the fluff, the little hairs on the skin, down so that the hairs don't show. But all they're doing really is creating streaks. You're not meant to use a brush this way, okay? You're not meant to use a brush with streaking, with pulling it along, okay? A stippling brush or a round brush, a stippling brush which comes with a flat head, or one of these ones with a small rounded head, which are quite dense, as you can see. They're meant to be applied by pushing the product into the skin, and then gently, if needed, buffing it out very gently. See, this barely touches the skin, and it's definitely not moving the skin at all. This is to ensure that in case you missed out a couple of spots whilst pressing it on, this will make sure that the foundation is distributed all over the skin. Creamy foundations love whatever you want to use, okay? So for example, the Khryl Vita color, which is one of my absolute favorite foundations, the best application for that I found are the tools that you're born with, your fingers. And with any kind of foundation, no matter whether it's the wax-based foundation or the liquid creamy foundation, moisturizing foundation, whatever foundation you use, a big mistake I see too many times is that people rub it onto the face like it's a face cream. It's not intended to be used like that. Creamy foundations are meant to be applied by pressing it into the skin, because this way you actually press it into the pores, into the open pores, into the wrinkles, into any part, and then you won't be left with any gaps. And you'll definitely not be left with streak marks. If the foundation is too dewy or too moisturizing, what I also recommend is to get a powder puff or beauty blender. You can use a beauty blender, and then press in the foundation into the skin, okay? So it takes off any excess oils onto the powder puff, okay? Or the beauty blender if you want. It also pushes in the product into the skin, so it doesn't move once you put the powder on. You will still get full coverage if you apply the foundation with your hands and with your fingers by pressing the product into the skin. But if you rub it, even if you make circular motions, like really gentle motions, you'll get a medium coverage or less coverage. And then finally, the underrated pressed powder. Now this is obviously a pigmented pressed powder. I love these. I use this a lot over the foundation when ladies have enlarged pores, or even men. When I do men's makeup, they generally have more enlarged pores than women. What I do is I use a sponge or a powder puff, and I apply it by pressing it into the skin. Once I've applied it all over the face, I take a powder brush and then just very gently remove the excess, making sure that it's distributed evenly. A lot of them actually have a really decent amount of coverage, so they can actually be used on their own. If you have oily skin, you can get away with wearing that only on your skin. However, if you do have dry skin, then I do recommend you apply a lot of moisturizer underneath, or you mix it up with that mixture that I always talk about, which is a third glycerin, third rose water, diluted rose water, and a third of distilled water. Now the question is how to pick the shade of foundation. You will see once you go to the shops and you do a swatch on your hand or wherever, that some foundations look quite yellow and others look quite orange, and then you got some that look really pink. This depends on what undertone the manufacturer used to create these shades. So they are designed for cool, neutral and warm tones. I recommend that you pick some foundations that you might think are the right match and then test them underneath your jawline. This is where our natural skin tone is, okay? So some say check it with the chest, but some people have a big difference between their tone on the face and the neck and their chest. That's why I recommend that you match it to your neck, and then if need be, you can spread it out gently and blend it down towards the chest, so you cover everything up. Because it's very normal that we have different shades all over the face. So sometimes our forehead is darker than our jawline, and then we have the center of the face a different color altogether. Now, if you do have some discoloration, let's say you have a really dark forehead in comparison to the rest of the face, then I do recommend that you color correct that area first before you apply the foundation. This way you'll get an even skin tone all over the face and the neck. Make sure you always bring down the foundation towards the neck. Never leave out the neck, because often you see people looking like they're wearing a mask not that COVID mask, but like a face mask. So make sure you always bring it down towards the jawline, even if the foundation really matches it, because it's, at the end of the day, it's still a different texture. So once you've decided on a shade, I recommend that you swatch them, if possible at all, along your jawline, and then see which shade foundation has the right undertone that matches your skin tone the most. You will find that the right shade blends in quite easily. So once you swatch, you can just blend it out gently with your finger, and then see it gels into your natural shade, then that's the right shade for you. If it's a bit lighter, you will notice it. If it's a bit darker, you will notice it as well. Before you buy that, please make sure you walk out of the shop if possible at all. If you're able to go out into natural light, please do so, because the artificial light in shops can be really harsh and may actually portray a different shade than what it actually is. So make sure you walk out, take a selfie or ask a friend and see which one actually does look the best on your skin, which one matches your skin tone the most before you buy the product. It's quite common that some people choose a darker foundation because they want to look darker, and vice versa. I've had many clients of mine asking me to make them look more tanned, and then those who ask me to make them look as pale as possible. Now, my answer to those who want to look a bit darker is always to use a bronzer, unless they've had a complete fake tan, of course, on their body. In that case, I'll try to match it up. However, those who want me to go lighter on their foundation, then I explain to them that it's not possible for me to just go in with a lighter shade of foundation, because you'll get a really murky grayish shade rather than a clear, healthy looking complexion. So for the ladies who want to go lighter, I'll have to color correct their entire face, make sure that I get an even tone in order for me to apply a lighter shade foundation. That is a very lengthy process, trust, and I really don't recommend that. However, some cultures do prefer that. For those of you wanting to go a little bit darker, it's okay to go in with a shade or maximum 2, depending on how many shades the brand actually makes. But I wouldn't recommend going too dark, because it's again going to look really odd. So try and stay true to your colors, and then you can just apply bronzers if you like to warm up your skin tone. Done. Don't forget, please, that I do offer one-on-one online Zoom sessions. The good thing is that you can be anywhere in the world. We'll just find a time that suits us both. Please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel and ask any questions you have. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.